February of 76, and the snow came down so thick you couldn't tell where Earth stopped and heaven started. That's when I found her. An Apache girl half frozen adrift, lips blue as creek ice, not knowing she'd end up owning more land than every man circling my cabin combined. Of course, we didn't know that part yet. All we knew was come sunrise, Wade Patterson and his boys would drag us both out in chains, or they'd burn us out trying. They had torches, they had guns, they had a crooked judge, and a town full of folks too scared to say different. What they didn't have was the truth. See, that girl I pulled from the snow, she had papers. Spanish land grant older than America's claim to this territory. Signed and sealed before most of these settlers' grandpas were even born. Patterson had murdered her grandmother to steal it, forged documents to cover his tracks, and bought himself a judge to make it all legal. But truth has a way of rising, even when you bury it deep. This is the story of how a broke blacksmith and an Apache girl, nobody believed, built something that changed a territory. And it starts 3 days earlier, on the trail to Widow's Pass. The wind screamed through Widow's Pass like something dying, tearing at Silas Brennan's coat as he hunched forward in the saddle. Behind him, wrapped in every blanket they owned, 8-year-old Elwood pressed his face into his father's back, small arms locked tight around Silas's waist. "Almost home, son," Silas said, though the words got swallowed by the storm. They'd spent 14 hours in Stillwater, Silas shoeing horses at Harlow's stable for $2, Elwood sweeping floors for pennies. Not much, but it kept beans in the pot and firewood stacked. That was enough. Had to be. Dust, his old roan mare, picked her way careful through the drifts, ears pinned back. 3 miles left to the cabin, maybe less. Hard to tell when the world was nothing but white noise and cold. "Pa!" Elwood's voice, sharp with alarm. "What's that?" Silas followed the boy's pointing finger. Dark shape off the trail, slumped against a wind-twisted pine. Could have been a fallen branch. Could have been a deer carcass. Could have been trouble. "Stay put," Silas said, swinging down from the saddle. His boots punched through snow knee-deep. Each step cost him. The shape took form as he got close. A horse, black as midnight, legs folded beneath it, steam rising from its nostrils, exhausted but alive. And beside it, half buried, a figure in a cavalry coat. Silas dropped to one knee, brushed snow from a shoulder, a face, a woman. Her lips were pale blue, skin like wax, ice clinging to long black hair, not moving. "Ma'am?" Silas shook her shoulder. Nothing. He pressed 2 fingers to her neck. Pulse there, faint but there. Didn't think, didn't wonder who she was or how she'd ended up alone in this. Didn't calculate what bringing an Apache to his cabin might cost him. Just moved. He scooped her up, lighter than he expected, all bones and cold, and carried her back to dust. The mare snorted nervously but held steady. Silas shifted Elwood forward in the saddle, then positioned the woman behind the boy, draping her limp arms around his waist. "Hold her hands, son. Don't let go." Elwood's eyes were wide, scared, but he nodded and gripped the woman's frozen fingers in his own. Silas climbed up front, took the reins, kicked dust into motion. The black horse whinnied once, then staggered to its feet and followed behind, too tired to run, too loyal to be left. Abby would have stopped, Silas thought. Can't teach the boy mercy if I don't show it. The storm howled louder. Snow came faster. Every step deliberate, every breath a fight. 3 riders emerged from the white wall ahead, heading the opposite direction. Patterson's men. Silas recognized the lead horse, Harlow's big sorrel. "That you, Brennan?" Harlow called out, squinting through the storm. "Just heading home." Harlow's eyes narrowed, taking in the figure slumped behind Elwood. "That an Apache you got there?" Silas's jaw tightened. "That's a human being half froze. Now, move along." The men exchanged looks. One spat in the snow. "Patterson's going to want to hear about this," Harlow said. "I expect he will." They rode on, disappearing into the storm. Elwood, quiet. "Pa, they going to tell?" "Probably." "We in trouble?" Silas urged dust faster. "We'll worry about that after we save her life." His cabin broke through the white wall. Rough-hewn logs, stone chimney, slanted roof barely keeping the snow from piling through. Right now it looked like salvation. He dismounted fast, pulled the woman down, cradled her against his chest. She was heavier now, dead weight, her breathing so faint he had to press his ear close just to be sure it was still there. "Tommy, get the door." The boy ran ahead, fumbled with the latch. The door swung open, warm air spilling out. Silas carried her inside, laid her on the cot by the fireplace, started working, coat off, boots off, blankets layered, fire stoked high. His hands moved automatic. Strip the wet, warm the cold, keep her breathing. An hour later, color finally crept back into her cheeks. Her eyelids fluttered, still alive. Silas exhaled, sat back on his heels, looked at Elwood, who'd been watching with his mother's Bible clutched to his chest. "You did good, son." Outside, through the window, torchlight appeared in the distance. Moving through the snow, coming closer, 6 riders, maybe more. Silas stood, grabbed his rifle. A voice cut through the wind. "Brennan, you got something belongs to me." Silas stepped onto the porch, rifle across his arms. Not aimed, just ready. 6 riders materialized from the snow, torches burning orange against the white. Wade Patterson sat his horse like a king surveying peasants. Tall, broad-shouldered, expensive coat that didn't belong in this weather. "Evening, Brennan." Patterson's voice carried false friendliness. "Heard you picked up something on the trail." "Picked up a woman half dead in the snow. Couldn't leave her." "Noble of you." Patterson dismounted, boots crunching. "But that woman's indentured labor, legally bound to my ranch, papers and everything. She was dying. Still my property." Silas's knuckles went white on the rifle. "She ain't property. She's a person." Chet Harlow, Patterson's foreman, stepped forward. Mean as a snake and twice as quick. "Law says different, Brennan. You're interfering with a legal contract." "Storm's still blowing. She stays till it clears. That's common decency." Patterson's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Decency don't trump law. Now hand her over, or this gets ugly." Behind Silas, the door creaked. Elwood stepped out, clutching his mother's Bible. The boy's presence changed everything. Even Patterson wouldn't shoot with a child watching. Patterson's jaw tightened. "You're making a mistake, Silas. Whole town knows you got her. Marshal will be by come morning." "Then I'll talk to the marshal in the morning." "Your choice." Patterson swung back into his saddle. "But that girl's got debts to pay, and now, so do you." They rode off, torches disappearing into the storm. Inside, Silas barred the door, checked every window. His hands were shaking now, not from cold. "Pa," Elwood's voice was small, "what's indentured labor?" Silas knelt by the fire, feeding it fresh logs. "Fancy word for slavery, son. They catch Apache with nowhere to go, say they owe debts, make 'em work it off, except the debt never gets paid." "That ain't right." "No, it ain't." The woman stirred on the cot. A soft groan escaped her lips. Her eyes opened, sharp, gray, immediately alert despite the near death she'd just survived. Silas approached, slow, hands visible. "Easy now, you're safe." She tried to sit up, failed. Her eyes darted around the cabin, rough walls, stone hearth, the boy with his Bible. Back to Silas. "Where?" Her voice was hoarse, barely a whisper. "Copper Creek, few miles south of Stillwater. Found you on the trail, half froze." She closed her eyes, exhaling slow, trying to piece together how she'd ended up here. When she opened them again, distrust lived there. "Why? Why what? Why help me?" Silas pulled up the wooden chair, sat. "Because leaving you would have been murder?" She studied his face, his calloused hands, the Confederate belt buckle at his waist. Her eyes caught on it, tensed. "I was on the wrong side of a war once," Silas said quiet. "Learned my lesson. Don't hold with fighting folks for who they were born." Something shifted in her expression. Not trust, but less fear. Elwood crept closer, holding a chipped tin cup filled with water. "You thirsty?" She looked at the boy, his earnest face, his mother's Bible tucked under one arm, and nodded. Silas helped her sit up, held the cup while she drank. Most dribbled down her chin, but some made it past her lips. "Thank you," she whispered. "You got a name?" Silas asked. Long pause, testing whether words were safe here. "They call me Maria." Hatred in how she said it, a name forced on her. "What do you call yourself?" She blinked. This white man was different, asking what she wanted. "Na'alnish, my grandmother's name for me." Silas nodded. "Na'alnish it is." Outside, a horse whinnied. Not theirs. Footsteps on the porch, heavy boots, 3 hard knocks. "Silas Brennan, it's Marshal Dorrance. Open up, we need to talk." Silas opened the door halfway. Marshal Clyde Dorrance stood there, snow dusting his shoulders, 2 deputies flanking him. He held official papers in one gloved hand. "Clyde." "Silas." Dorrance removed his hat. "Can I come in?" Silas stepped aside. The marshal entered, deputies staying on the porch. His eyes went straight to Na'alnish on the cot, wrapped in blankets. "Miss." Dorrance nodded respectful. You all right? She didn't answer, just watched him with those sharp gray eyes. Dorrance turned to Silas. Patterson claims she's indentured labor, says you're harboring a fugitive. She was dying on the trail. I understand that, but he's got papers. Dorrance unfolded the document. Legal contract. Says she owes him 2 years' labor for debts incurred. Nalnish's voice cut through, stronger now. I never signed anything. Dorrance looked at her. Your mark's on it, miss. Then he forged it. That's a serious accusation. Silas stepped between them. Clyde, look at her. She was half dead when I found her. You really think she belongs back at Patterson's? Dorrance's face showed the war inside him, duty versus conscience. What I think don't matter. Judge Hackman signed the writ. I enforce what the judge says. Hackman's Patterson's cousin. Don't matter. Law's the law. Silas's jaw clenched. Then the law's wrong. Maybe so, but I still gotta enforce it. Elwood stepped forward, voice trembling but clear. Jesus said help the stranger, says so right here. He held up his mother's Bible. Dorrance looked at the boy, something softening. Son, I appreciate that, but Bible and law don't always agree. They should. Silence hung heavy. Outside, the wind had died. The storm was passing. Dorrance sighed, refolded the papers. All right, here's what I can do. Storm's clearing, but roads are still rough. I'll give you till tomorrow noon. Maybe she's got family elsewhere can claim her, but come noon, if she's still here, I gotta enforce the writ. That's all I'm asking, Silas said. Fair chance. Dorrance put his hat back on, paused at the door. Silas, you're a good man, but good men hang same as bad ones when they break the law. After he left, Alnish spoke. There is someone who can help. Who? A lawyer, in Stillwater, Beatrice Hartwell. Silas raised an eyebrow. You know a lawyer? My grandmother told me. If I ever needed help with the land, find her. What land? Alnish pulled the blanket tighter. It's a long story. We got time. She took a breath. 7 miles north, the valley by Copper Creek, my grandmother built a house there. Her husband was Spanish, Don Sebastian. He had a land grant from the Spanish crown. Silas frowned. Ain't nothing up there but Patterson's ranch. Her eyes flashed. It was ours first. Morning broke cold and clear. Silas knew they needed supplies for the ride to Stillwater, which meant going into town, into Copper Ridge, where everyone would be watching. They rode slow down Main Street, Silas, Elwood, and Nalnish on her recovered black mare. Townspeople stopped mid-stride, stared, whispered. A woman pulled her children to the other side of the street. One man touched his gun, obvious. Oz Fletcher's general store sat at the end of the street. Oz himself stood in the doorway, grizzled, 68, seen everything twice. Well, I'll be hornswoggled. Oz grinned. Heard you pulled her out of the snow. Need traveling supplies, Oz. You got money? Some. Oz waved them inside. Come on, then. The store smelled like coffee and leather and dried tobacco. Nalnish stayed close to Silas, eyes tracking every movement. Oz spoke sudden Apache, clear, fluent. Welcome, daughter. You are safe here. Nalnish's head snapped up. You speak the language? Rode with scouts back in 68. Learned more from them than they learned from me. He switched to English. Silas, you know what you're doing? Trying to do right. That'll get you killed in this town. The door burst open. Wade Patterson strode in, 4 men behind him, his eyes locked on Nalnish. There she is. His voice carried satisfaction. My property. Walking around free. Silas moved between them. She ain't property. I got papers says different. Legal indenture contract. Nalnish stepped forward. I never signed anything. You forged it. Patterson smiled cold. Your mark's on it. That's all the law needs. She ain't going with you, Silas said quiet. You're interfering with legal rights, Brennan. That's a crime. Then I'm a criminal. Patterson's hand moved toward his gun. Oz cocked his shotgun behind the counter. Nobody draws in my store. People gathered outside now, pressing against the windows. Elwood gripped his Bible tighter, stepped beside his father. My ma said what's legal ain't always what's right. Patterson sneered. Kid's got spirit. Shame he's got a fool for a father. Murmurs from the crowd, some agreement, some uncertain. Patterson straightened. Fine, you want to play it this way. I'll get Judge Hackman to issue a full arrest warrant. By this time tomorrow, you'll both be in chains. He leaned close. And that shack you call home, I'll burn it to the ground." He stormed out, men following. The crowd dispersed, slow, fearful. Oz exhaled. "Silas, you just painted a target on your back." "Had one there already." "Where you headed?" "She's got proof, legal proof. We're going to get it." One of the townspeople, a weathered rancher named Frank, stepped inside. "Silas, you best watch yourself. Patterson's got half the town scared, other half bought." "Which half are you?" Frank paused. "The half that remembers decency." He tipped his hat to Nalnish. "Ma'am," then left. Outside, a rider approached fast, Dorrance's deputy. "Marshal says Patterson got Judge Hackman to move up the writ. You got till sundown, not noon tomorrow." Silas checked the sun. 4 hours. "How far to this cave?" he asked Nalnish. 2 hours, but Patterson knows about it." "Then we better ride hard." Through snow-heavy pines, the horses struggled. Nalnish led, knowing the land. Silas followed, rifle ready, eyes scanning. She was different here, confident, fluid. This was her territory. "Your grandmother taught you all this?" Silas asked. "Everything. How to read the land, track game, find water." Her voice tightened. "How to survive when the world says you shouldn't." "Boarding school tried to beat that out of you." Her hands clenched the reins. "They tried. Beat my hands when I spoke our language. Cut my hair. Told me my grandmother's ways were savage. But you're still here. Because of her." She said, "They can take your land, your language, your name, but they can't take who you are inside." Silas thought of Abigail. "She sounds like my wife." Nalnish glanced back. "I think they would have understood each other." She stopped sudden. "We're being tracked." "How do you know?" "Crows scattered, quarter-mile back. White men don't notice. Apache do." Silas listened. Nothing but wind through pines. "Patterson's men?" "Who else?" She turned off the trail, through a narrow rocky passage. Hidden entrance behind a frozen waterfall. Inside, small cave, dry, old campfire marks, sacred space. Nalnish went straight to the back wall, counted stones, pulled one loose. Behind it, oilskin-wrapped bundle. She opened it careful. Reverent Spanish land grant dated 1843, marriage certificate, Don Sebastian's will, survey maps. Silas examined them by lantern light. "This is legal. This is ironclad." "My grandmother knew white men would try to take it," she said. "Truth written down outlasts lies spoken loudly." Outside, horses whinnied, alarm, voices. "Brennan, we know you're in there." Harlow's voice. "Come out with the papers, or we smoke you out." Silas and Nalnish exchanged looks. "How many exits?" "One." "Defensible?" "For a while." A new voice cut through, authoritative. "Stand down, Harlow. Marshal's orders." Silas recognized it. "Deputy Garrett?" Through the cave entrance, they saw young Deputy Garrett facing down Patterson's men, rifle raised. "Marshal Dorrance sent me. Said to make sure these two get back safe." Harlow spat. "Marshal don't have jurisdiction here. This is Patterson land." "It's territorial land till property rights are settled. I got orders to protect citizens." Hoofbeats, more riders. Marshal Dorrance himself, flanked by 2 deputies. "You boys got business here?" Dorrance's voice carried weight. Harlow backed down but snarled. "Patterson's going to hear about this." "I expect he will. Now ride on." Patterson's men left, reluctant, angry. After they'd gone, Dorrance approached the cave. Silas emerged, suspicious. "Clyde?" Dorrance removed his hat. "Silas, I got a daughter, had a daughter, Sarah. Fever took her in 71. She'd be about this girl's age." His voice cracked. "When I saw that Apache girl in your cabin, wrapped in your wife's shawl, all I could see was Sarah." Silas understood. "Clyde, I may have to enforce unjust laws, but I don't have to enforce them quick, and I sure don't have to let Patterson's thugs murder you before you get your day." Nalnish stepped forward. "Thank you, Marshal." Dorrance, gruff. "Don't thank me yet. Patterson's got Judge Hackman in his pocket. You'll need more than papers. You'll need a lawyer who ain't afraid." "Beatrice Hartwell," Silas said. "The Eastern lawyer? She's tough." Dorrance paused. "I'll escort you back. But after that, I can't protect you. Judge orders your arrest, I'll have to comply." "Fair enough." As they rode back toward Copper Ridge, Nalnish spoke quiet. "Patterson didn't just squat on my land. 3 years ago, I found a burned paper in the fireplace, my grandmother's will. He'd broken in, tried to destroy it. But you had copies. Grandmother made them, hid them where he couldn't find. She said, men who steal once will steal again, always have proof they can't reach. The settlement came into view, smoke rising from chimneys. Peaceful. Elwood ran out from Oz's store. Pa, you made it. Silas dismounted, hugged his boy. Told you I would. Elwood looked at Naelnish. You got the papers? She patted the oilskin bundle. I did. Oz appeared in the doorway. Now comes the hard part. Dorrance. She won't get justice from Hackman, but Territorial Court in Prescott might hear her case, if she can get there alive. A rider burst into town, one of Patterson's men, shouted to the gathering crowd, Fire! Brennan's cabin's burning. Silas turned. Smoke rising in the distance. Black column against the sky, right where his homestead stood. Elwood's face crumpled. Pa, our home. Silas stared, jaw clenched. Everything he and Abigail built, going up in flames. Naelnish, guilt-stricken. This is because of me. Silas, quiet fury. No, this is because of men who'd rather burn the world than share it. They rode out to what was left, smoldering ruins, roof collapsed, walls charred black, everything gone. Elwood slid off the horse, walked through the ash. Ma's rocking chair. Silas knelt, searching. Found it, the Bible, singed but intact, protected by a fallen beam, the pressed wildflowers inside still preserved. He handed it to Elwood. Some things can't be burned, son. Oz examined the scene. Accelerant, multiple torch points. They wanted it hot and fast. Naelnish stood apart, wrapped in shame. I should leave. Go into the hills. This was my fight. Silas walked to her. Girl, if I gave up every time something hard happened, I'd never have made it past Shiloh. Home ain't four walls. Home is where you choose to stand. You lost everything because of me. I lost everything I owned, different from everything I am. He looked at Elwood. I got my boy safe. I got you safe. That's what matters. Elwood joined them. We can rebuild. That's right. Oz cleared his throat. You three can stay in my store's back room. Ain't fancy, but it's warm. Can't pay you, Oz. Didn't ask you to. Besides, got a forge out back needs tending. Next morning, they rode to Stillwater. Deputy Garrett, as escort, Dorrance's orders. On the trail, Naelnish taught Elwood Apache words. He taught her to read English from the scorched Bible. Her scarred fingers traced the letters careful. Boarding school taught me to read their rules, but this, she touched the page. These words matter. They reached Beatrice Hartwell's office by noon. Small space above the bank, books everywhere. A woman in her 40s looked up from her desk. Yes? Ma'am, we need a lawyer, Silas said. Naelnish stepped forward, placed the oilskin bundle on the desk. Beatrice opened it, started reading. Her eyes widened. She read faster, flipping pages. Finally, where did you get this? My grandmother. It's my inheritance. Beatrice stood. You're Naelnish Cordero, Don Sebastian's granddaughter? You know of him? Know of him? I researched this case 3 years ago. Beatrice spread the documents. This isn't just legal under territorial law. This is federal. Spanish land grants are protected by the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, 1848. Silas leaned forward. In plain English? It means she doesn't need Judge Hackman. This goes straight to federal court. And in federal court, Patterson's money means nothing. Hope flickered in Silas's chest. So she can win? If I can get her to federal court in Prescott, yes, the law is clear. Beatrice's face darkened. But Patterson won't let that happen. Dead people can't claim inheritance. Then we make sure she gets there alive. Beatrice pulled out papers. Federal Circuit Judge arrives in Prescott in 2 weeks. That's our window. Dorrance, who'd been listening outside, entered. I can escort to the territorial line. After that, you're on your own. 2 weeks, Silas said. We can hold out that long. That evening, in Oz's back room, simple meals shared around a small table. Elwood asked about Naelnish's grandmother. She told stories, tracking, reading weather, surviving. She used to say, the land remembers who loves it. Truth rises like dawn. Silas smiled. She sounds like quite a woman. She was, like your wife. Elwood. I wish they could have met. Naelnish removed her grandmother's silver cross, her only jewelry, placed it in Elwood's palm. This was hers. Now I give it to you, so you remember, family isn't blood, family is who stands with you. I can't. You're my brother now. Silas watched, eyes wet. Outside, a horse whinnied. Alarm. Oz burst in. Town meeting, Patterson called it, says he's got something to show everyone. They walked to the square. Crowd gathered, torches lit, evening dark. Patterson stood on the store steps, holding papers. Good people of Copper Ridge, I've been patient, I've been reasonable. But Silas Brennan has gone too far. He waved the papers. Sworn affidavits, witnesses who saw Brennan steal from my ranch, saw the Indian girl trespassing, saw them conspiring to forge land documents. Crowd murmured. I've got Judge Hackman's order right here. Brennan and the squaw are to be arrested tonight, charged with theft, forgery, and treason against territorial law. Dorrance stepped forward. Patterson, those are serious charges. No time for verification, Marshal. Judge's orders are clear. Arrest them both, now. Behind Patterson, 6 armed men stepped forward. And if you won't, Marshal, I've got men deputized by Judge Hackman who will. Yes'm. Patterson's deputized men moved forward with iron shackles. Heavy, cold. The sound of them opening made Elwood flinch. They clamped them on Silas's wrists first, then Nalnish's. The boy tried to run forward. Pa! Oz caught him, held him back. Easy, son. Silas, shackled, looked at Elwood. It's all right, you stay with Oz. But his eyes said different. Patterson made a show of it. Forced them to walk the entire length of Main Street to the marshal's office. Both sides lined with townspeople, some hostile, some pitying, most silent, looking away. A woman spat at Nalnish's feet. Indian trash. Another voice. Brennan, you brought this on yourself. But others, quieter. An old-timer removed his hat. Sorry, Silas, this ain't right. A mother with children whispered to Nalnish, God keep you, girl. Elwood broke free from Oz, ran to his father. One of Patterson's men raised a hand to push him back. Silas, chains rattling, stepped between. Touch my son, and these chains won't stop me. The man backed off, Elwood crying, Pa, what do I do? Silas knelt awkward, chains making it hard. You remember what your ma taught you. Stay with Oz, read that Bible every night, and don't let hate into your heart. But they're lying. Truth has a way of coming out, son. Might take time. He kissed the boy's forehead. You hold steady. To Nalnish. Keep your head up. She nodded, walked through that gauntlet with Apache pride, spine straight, eyes forward. The jail, 2 cells, stone walls, barred windows, Silas in one, Nalnish in the other, separated by bars but could see each other. Dorrance locked the cells, looking ashamed. Silas, I tried. Hackman overruled me. You're doing your job, Clyde. Don't make it easier. After Dorrance left, silence settled heavy. Silas sat on the thin cot, head in hands, taking inventory. Cabin burned, livelihood gone, reputation destroyed, and now facing a noose for helping someone who needed help. This is my fault, Nalnish said from the other cell. Don't. If I'd stayed in the hills, I made my choice, eyes open. Why though? What was I to you? Silas looked at her through the bars. You were someone drowning. I had a hand to pull you out. That's all the reason a man needs. Long silence. Then Nalnish spoke quiet. My father died trying to protect my mother from cavalry raiders. He stood in front of her. No weapon. They shot him 7 times. Silas listened. I was 5. My grandmother found me under the bed, covered in their blood. She wrapped me in a blanket and ran. We lived in caves for 2 years. I'm sorry. She told me, your father's courage wasn't in fighting, it was in standing. I didn't understand until I saw you in that doorway, until I watched you lose everything rather than step aside. Your father sounds brave. He was, she paused. So are you. Evening, Oz came with food, beans, bread, coffee, slid it through the bars. Ain't much. It's enough. How's Elwood? Scared, angry, but that boy's got spine. Been reading your wife's Bible cover to cover. Small comfort. Oz leaned close. Beatrice filed emergency appeals. Territorial governor, federal judge, trying to get charges dismissed before trial. Will it work? Oz's face said no. Patterson's got too much pull. Late night, boots on stone. Patterson appeared outside the cells, whiskey on his breath. You could have walked away, Brennan. Silas didn't rise to it. What do you want? I want you to understand something. Tomorrow, Hackman's going to convict you both. 10 years hard labor for you. For her, he looked at Nailnish. They'll send her to the reservation. Or maybe she'll disappear on the way. Apache go missing all the time. Nailnish, cold. You can't keep my land forever. Patterson laughed. Girl, I burned the truth. That what you got? My lawyers will prove it's a forgery, and you'll be dead or gone. Silas stood, gripped the bars. You killed her grandmother. Went for the will. When she wouldn't tell you where it was, you killed her. Patterson's smile faded. You got no proof. Don't need proof. I can see it in your eyes. Patterson's face hardened. Dead men can't testify, Brennan. He left. Darkness. Single candle burning low. Silas? Nailnish's voice. You asleep? No. Are you afraid? Long silence, then honest. Terrified. Not for me. For my boy. Oz will care for him. It's not the same. He needs his father. Silence again. My grandmother said, when night is darkest, dawn is closest. I never believed her until now. You still believe it? I have to. Otherwise, what was their sacrifice for? My parents, my grandmother, your wife, all the people who stood when it was easier to run. Silas found strength in her words. Your grandmother was right about a lot of things. Nailnish reached through her bars. Silas did the same. Their fingers touched across the gap. Two prisoners, different worlds, united in choosing honor over safety. Dawnlight crept through the barred window. Footsteps. Dorrance and Deputy Garrett. Time to go. Trial starts in an hour. Silas stood, straightened his shirt, ran hands through his hair, maintaining dignity even in chains. Nailnish braided her hair with manacled hands, wrapped her grandmother's shawl around her shoulders. As they were led out, Elwood appeared, Oz trying to hold him back. The boy thrust something through, the pressed wildflowers from the Bible. Ma would want you to have these for courage. Silas took them, voice breaking. You've already made me proud, son. They walked to the courthouse. Crowd gathering, some shouting for blood, some demanding fair trial. Patterson stood on the courthouse steps, smiling. Beside him, Judge Hackman, portly, red-faced, bought and paid for. Hackman banged his gavel. Court is now in session. Territory versus Silas Brennan and the Indian known as Maria Cordero. Charges, theft, forgery, conspiracy to defraud. How do the defendants plead? Silas, voice clear. Not guilty. Nailnish, not guilty. Then let's proceed. Mr. Patterson, present your case. The courthouse packed tight, standing room only. Everyone wanted to see the Apache girl, and the fool who defended her get what was coming. Judge Hackman presiding, clearly biased, cutting Silas off every time he tried to speak. No jury. Judge would decide alone. Territorial law allowed it for minor cases involving Indians. Patterson presented his case with slick confidence. Smiled at the crowd like this was theater. Your Honor, the facts are simple. Patterson laid papers on the table. This woman, who calls herself Nailnish, is indentured labor. Legal contract properly signed. Mr. Brennan aided her escape, stole supplies from my ranch, and conspired to forge land documents claiming she owns property that's been legally mine for 5 years. He presented, forged indenture contract with Nailnish's mark, witness testimony from paid men claiming they saw Silas steal expert testimony claiming the Spanish land grant was fake Beatrice Hartwell, representing them, objected repeatedly. Your Honor, this is federal jurisdiction. Spanish land grants. Overruled. Hackman didn't even look at her. This is territorial court. I'll decide what's relevant. But the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo specifically protects... I said overruled, Miss Hartwell. Silas finally allowed to speak. Stood, chains rattling. Your Honor, I found her dying in a blizzard. Leaving her would have been murder. I know basic human decency. That ain't a crime. Human decency doesn't override legal contracts. What about legal land grants? Don Sebastian Cordero's claim. Hearsay. The supposed Spanish grant is likely forged. Mr. Patterson has owned that land legally for 5 years without dispute. Beatrice stood. Because he murdered the previous owner. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Hackman pounded his gavel. That's a serious accusation, Miss Hartwell. You have proof? Nailnish Cordero's grandmother, Maria, died under suspicious circumstances in 3 days after Patterson moved onto the property. Patterson rose, voice dripping false offense. Your Honor, Maria Cordero was an old woman. Natural causes. There was an inquest. I was cleared. Hackman. Indeed, Miss Hartwell, unless you have new evidence, withdraw that slander. Na'alnish took the stand, shackled hands resting on the Bible. Beatrice, state your full name. Na'alnish Cordero, granddaughter of Maria Cordero and Don Sebastian Cordero. Tell the court about your grandmother's land. Na'alnish spoke clear, looking directly at Hackman. My grandfather received the land through Spanish grant in 1843. When he died, he left everything to my grandmother. When she died, she left it to me. It's in his will. I have the documents. Patterson's lawyer. Objection. These supposed documents are convenient fabrications. Beatrice. We have the original Spanish land grant, marriage certificate, Don Sebastian's will. Produce them then, Hackman said. Beatrice reached for her satchel, froze, looked inside, face draining of color. They're gone. Courtroom erupted. Hackman pounded his gavel. Order. Miss Hartwell, you've lost the central evidence? They were in my satchel this morning. I locked my office. Patterson's lawyer, smirking. Perhaps they never existed. Perhaps this entire case is built on lies. Silas stood. Those documents were real. I saw them. Sit down, Mr. Brennan. A voice from the back. I can explain what happened to those documents. Everyone turned. Deputy Garrett walked down the aisle, face pale, holding an envelope. Dorrance, surprised. Garrett? Garrett's voice shook. I took them from Miss Hartwell's office last night. Patterson paid me $500. The courtroom exploded, Hackman banging furiously. Silas felt like he'd been gut-punched. You? You rode with us. You helped us. Garrett, tears streaming. I got a sick wife. 3 kids. We're drowning in debt. Patterson said he'd forgive my mortgage if I helped. His voice broke. I'm sorry, Silas. God help me. I'm sorry. Dorrance, disgusted. Badge. Now. Garrett unpinned it with shaking hands, placed the envelope on the prosecutor's table. But I couldn't destroy them. They're all here. Everything. I just delayed things. Beatrice grabbed the envelope. Spanish land grant, will, marriage certificate, intact. She rushed to the judge. Your Honor, here's the proof. Authenticated Spanish land grant dated 1843. Don Sebastian's will, Maria's will, all legitimate. Hackman examined them. His face tightened. He knew he was cornered, but he was Patterson's man. Long pause, then. These documents appear legitimate. However, the question remains, is this defendant the true Na'alnish Cordero? Apache have no birth certificates, no proof of lineage. For all we know, she's an imposter. Beatrice. That's absurd. She has her grandmother's cross. Hearsay. The grandmother's dead. Can't be cross-examined. Patterson's lawyer. Your Honor, I move for immediate conviction. The girl is clearly a fraud. Mr. Brennan is clearly her accomplice. Hackman. Motion granted. He pounded the gavel. I find both defendants guilty as charged. Silas Brennan, 10 years hard labor at Yuma Territorial Prison. The Indian known as Maria Cordero returned to San Carlos Reservation, pending federal investigation into identity fraud. Chaos. Some cheering, some shouting protests. Silas stood, voice cutting through. Your Honor, you're a disgrace to that robe. You know she's telling the truth. You know Patterson stole that land, but you're too bought to care. Hackman, red-faced, add contempt of court, 5 additional years. Dorrance, quiet to Silas. Stop talking. Can't make it worse than it is. Na'alnish stood, spoke in Apache, loud, clear, proud. Crowd fell silent. She switched to English. My grandmother told me, they can take your land, your freedom, your name, but that they can't take your spirit. That dies only when you let it. I don't let it. She looked at Patterson. You murdered her. You forged papers. But you can't kill truth. One day, it will rise. Hackman, vindictive. 15 years hard labor for Brennan. And you, transported to San Carlos immediately. If you're found impersonating Na'alnish Cordero, the sentence is death by hanging. Beatrice. You can't. I just did. Court adjourned. Final gavel. Elwood pushed through the crowd. Guards blocked him. Pa, no! Silas being led away. Elwood, stay with Oz. Be strong. Remember what your ma taught you. I love you, Pa. I love you too, son. Always. As they separated, Silas to prison wagon, Na'alnish to holding cell, their eyes met. No words needed. We fought. We lost. But we didn't break. That night. Silas alone in the cell. Dark. Cold. Rats scurrying. He sat on the cot, head in hands. The pressed wildflowers on the floor beside him. I'm sorry, Abby. I broke my promise. Elwood's gonna grow up without me. He picked up the flowers, held them to his chest. Outside, a rope being prepared. Footsteps, multiple people. Silas looked up. Oz, Beatrice, and an old Apache man in traditional dress. Oz. Silas, this is Nietzsche, not Alnish's uncle, Maria's brother. The old man stepped forward. I have proof. Proof she is my sister's granddaughter. Proof the land is hers. And proof Patterson murdered my sister. Silas stood. What kind of proof? The kind white man's law must listen to, federal law. In the cell, by lantern light, Nietzsche pulled out a leather pouch, opened it careful. Inside, another copy of the Spanish land grant, weathered but authentic, a photograph, rare, expensive, showing Don Sebastian, Maria, and a young woman holding a baby, and a ledger, Patterson's ledger. Beatrice examined them, hands trembling. Where did you get these? My sister gave me copies when Don Sebastian died. She knew white men would try to take the land. She said, if anything happens to me, these must reach Naalnish. Nietzsche's voice hardened. I've been searching for my niece for 3 years. Silas. And the ledger? I worked Patterson's ranch, 6 months. False name. One night, I stole his private ledger. Beatrice opened it, eyes widening. Payments to hired guns, dates matching Maria's death, notes about removing the old woman. She read further. Monthly bribes to Judge Hackman, 5 years' worth. Oz whistled low. That'll bring them both down. Beatrice, energized. This changes everything. With Nietzsche's testimony in these documents, we bypass territorial court entirely. Federal jurisdiction, Spanish land grant, plus murder proof, plus judicial corruption. I need to get this to the federal circuit judge in Prescott. How long? Silas asked. If I ride hard, tomorrow noon, get an emergency writ to overturn Hackman's ruling, issue arrest warrants for Patterson and Hackman. Dorrance, who'd been listening. Federal court issues the warrant, I'll enforce it. You'd go against Hackman? He's corrupt. That ain't law, that's crime wearing a robe. Oz frowned. Problem. Naalnish is being transported to San Carlos at dawn. 7 hours, she'll be gone before you get back. Silas. Then delay the wagon. How? I don't have authority. What if the wagon had trouble? Wheel falls off. Oz caught on. Takes time to fix. Dorrance. That's interfering with legal transport. So arrest me, I'm already going to Yuma for 15 years. Dorrance decided. All right. Beatrice, you ride to Prescott tonight. Take Nietzsche and the evidence. I'll escort to the territorial line. Oz, you sabotage the transport wagon. Make it look natural. I can do that. Silas, you stay here. Don't do anything stupid. If this works, you'll be free by tomorrow night. Silas exhaled. First real hope in days. And if it doesn't, you're no worse off. Next morning. Transportation wagon prepared for Naalnish. Patterson there, supervising, making sure she left. Wagon rolled out, made it half a mile. Wheel collapsed, axle cracked clean through. Guards examined it. This'll take hours to fix. Patterson furious. Then fix it. I want her gone by noon. While they worked, a rider approached fast from the south. Federal marshal from Prescott, flanked by 2 U.S. cavalry soldiers. Rode straight to the courthouse. Emerged minutes later with papers. Shouted to the gathering crowd, by order of Federal Circuit Judge Nathaniel Harrington, the conviction of Silas Brennan and Naalnish Cordero is hereby vacated. Arrest warrants issued for Wade Patterson and Judge Amos Hackman. Charges of murder, fraud, bribery, and corruption. The crowd erupted. Patterson heard. Tried to mount his horse and flee. Dorrance stepped out, rifle aimed. Going somewhere, Wade? You can't arrest me. I have rights. So did Maria Cordero. Funny how you forgot about hers. The federal marshal approached with handcuffs. Wade Patterson, you're under arrest for the murder of Maria Cordero, forgery of legal documents, conspiracy to defraud. Patterson, being cuffed. You don't know who you're dealing with. I have connections. I'll destroy you. Save it for the judge, the real one. Simultaneously, federal agents arrested Hackman at his desk. He blubbered. I'm a territorial judge. You can't. Corruption nullifies your authority. You're just a criminal now. Dorrance personally unlocked Silas's cell. You're free to go, with the court's apology. Silas stepped out, hardly believing. Just like that? Just like that. And Naalnish? Being brought back now, a free woman, legal owner of the Cordero Ranch. Outside the marshal's office, Elwood saw his father, ran full speed. Silas caught him, both crying. I knew you'd come back. I knew it. I promised, didn't I? Oz approached, grinning. You stubborn old coot. You actually won. Didn't win anything, just survived long enough for truth to catch up. The transport wagon returned, Nayalnish not shackled now, free. She dismounted, saw Silas and Elwood. For the first time, she smiled, full, genuine, walked to them. You're free, Silas said. The land's yours. Federal court confirmed it. I heard, pause. I also heard what you did, staying in that cell, risking more time, just to buy time for me. Couldn't let them take you. Why? You could walk away now, rebuild your cabin. Could, Silas said. But I made a promise, to my wife. And to you, even if I didn't say it out loud. Not Olnish, emotion in her voice. I want to offer you something, not charity, partnership. She pulled out the documents. This land, 50,000 acres. I can't run it alone. I need someone I trust. You want me as foreman? More. Co-owner, equal shares. Help me build something real, a place where Elwood can grow up seeing different people work together. Silas, overwhelmed. That's more than generous. It's fair. You saved my life twice. Money can't repay that, but partnership can. Elwood. And we'd be a family? Naselnish knelt. Yes, I'd be honored to be your sister. Elwood looked at his father. Silas nodded. Your ma would have loved her. She'd want us to say yes. Then yes, you're my sister now. A gunshot shattered in the moment. Patterson, having broken free, grabbed a rifle, aimed at Nalnish. If I can't have the land, nobody will. Silas saw Patterson's finger on the trigger, did what he'd always done, stepped in front of Nalnish. Patterson fired. The rifle cracked. Silas staggered, clutched his shoulder. Bullet grazed him. Not fatal, but blood spreading fast through his shirt. Elwood screamed, Pa! Nalnish caught Silas as he dropped to one knee. Before Patterson could fire again, three things happened at once. Dorrance tackled Patterson, wrestling the rifle away. Oz delivered a right hook that dropped Patterson cold. Two townspeople, men who'd been silent during the trial, restrained Patterson's arms. The crowd surged forward, angry. Hang him! He tried to murder them. String him up right now. Silas, bleeding, stood with Naalnish supporting him. No. The crowd paused. No more violence. His voice carried despite the pain. We're not like him. He deserves to die. Silas looked at Patterson, now conscious, being held by Dorrance. Maybe he does, but that's for a court to decide. A real court. We just proved the law matters. Can't throw it away because we're angry. Naalnish added, My grandmother said, revenge is drinking poison and hoping your enemy dies. We're better than that. Patterson spat blood. You think you've won? I'll appeal. I have lawyers. I'll tie this up for years. The federal marshal. With what money? Your assets are frozen. Your ranch is under federal seizure. You've got nothing left. Patterson's face crumbled. Everything he'd built, everything he'd stolen, gone. He started crying, ugly, desperate. That land was supposed to be my legacy. Silas, looking at him with something close to pity. Land don't make you somebody, Patterson. How you treat people does. You chose wrong. The doctor arrived. Examined Silas's shoulder. Bullet went through. You'll live, but you need stitches. He worked right there in the street while Elwood hovered, scared. I'm all right, boy. Takes more than that. You always got to be the hero, Pa. Silas smiled through pain. Not a hero, just a man trying to keep a promise. Naichi approached Patterson. Spoke in Apache, then English. My sister, before she died, told her neighbor you came to the house, demanded the papers. When she refused, you pushed her. She hit her head on the hearth. You left her there to die. Patterson, defiant. Prove it. I did. The neighbor, old Mexican woman named Rosa, saw everything. She testified to the federal marshal this morning. She was too afraid to speak before. Patterson slumped, completely defeated. The federal marshal. Additional charges, manslaughter in the death of Maria Cordero, attempted murder. You're looking at life in federal prison. Patterson was led to the prison wagon, the same one that was supposed to take Nalnish. As he was loaded in, Nalnish approached, spoke quietly, just to him. My grandmother would have forgiven you, so I do too, but I'll never forget what you took from me. Patterson said nothing, broken. 6 months later. Silas's shoulder healed, though it still ached in cold weather. A reminder, they stood together, Silas, Nalnish, Elwood, Oz, Beatrice, Dorrance, looking at the Cordero Ranch. The land stretched vast and beautiful, rolling hills, streams, the main house repaired and solid. It's been 3 years since I've seen it, Nasalnish said. Patterson let it fall apart. We'll fix it, Silas said. That's what we do. Beatrice presented legal papers. Federal court officially recognizes Nasalnish Cordero as sole heir to the Cordero land grant, 50,000 acres, and she pulled out another document. Partnership papers naming Silas Brennan as co-manager with equal authority. They signed. Oz and Dorrance witnessed. You're now legal partners. Congratulations. Nasalnish still wore Abigail's patchwork shawl. Elwood, you can keep that. Ma would have wanted you to. Are you sure? You're family now. Family shares what matters. Silas looked at his Confederate belt buckle, started to unbuckle it. What are you doing? Nasalnish asked. Been wearing this since '65. Maybe it's time to let go of the past. No, keep it. Not as a reminder of a war, as a reminder that people can change. You fought for the wrong side once, but you've fought for the right thing every day since. Silas moved, rebuckled it. You're wiser than your years. I had good teachers. Nasalnish framed the Spanish land grant, hung it in the ranch house. This paper nearly got us killed, but it also saved us. Truth always does, eventually. Your grandmother was right. Weeks later, Elwood working alongside Apache children Nasalnish had invited, relatives, orphans, those with nowhere else. Learning Apache fluently, teaching them English, playing together, just friends. Silas watched from the porch, Nasalnish beside him. You've built something special, not just a ranch, a community. We built it, together. I want this place to be different, Nasalnish said. Hire Apache workers at fair wages, teach them ranching skills, show that Apache and white can work side by side, make this land what my grandparents dreamed, a bridge between worlds. That's a good dream. Oz visited, sat on the porch. Silas, you realize what you've done. You've proven that a white man can do right by an Apache. That honor ain't about race. That's bigger than this ranch. That's changing hearts. Dorrance rode up one afternoon. I owe you both an apology. I knew the law was wrong, but enforced it anyway. You showed me, sometimes doing your job means standing against the job. You came around, Silas said. That's what matters. I've submitted my resignation, told the governor I won't enforce corrupt laws. That took courage. No, you two had courage. I just finally found a little of my own. Spring came. The ranch thrived, new buildings, cattle grazing, Apache and white workers together building corrals, mending fences, Silas and Nasalnish on horseback surveying the property. My grandmother used to ride this trail. She'd stop here and say, "Oh, sweet, this is where the ancestors smile." You feel them? Every day, especially when I see Elwood laughing with the Apache children, when I see fences being mended instead of built to keep people out. They watched the sunrise together, gold and pink spreading across the mountains. My grandmother said, "Dawn always comes, even after the darkest night." I didn't believe her during those years in boarding school, but she was right. She usually was. They rode back toward the ranch house, home. Wide shot, the ranch with smoke rising from the chimney, children playing, workers building, horses grazing, the land healing. Nasalnish's voice. This land has seen violence, seen theft, seen pain, but it's also seen love, seen sacrifice, seen people choosing right over easy. My grandmother said, land remembers who loves it. I think this land knows it's loved again. So that's how it happened, how a broke blacksmith with a Confederate belt buckle and an Apache girl half froze in the snow built something that changed a territory. Changed a lot more than that, if I'm being honest. The Cordero Brennan Ranch, that's what they called it eventually, though Nasalnish fought that name for years, said it should just be Cordero, but Silas wouldn't have it, said, your grandmother's name goes first, I'm just the hired help. They compromised, both names, equal billing, that's how they did everything for 40 years. That ranch became the biggest fair wage operation in Arizona territory. At its peak, employed over 200 people, Apache, Mexican, white, even some Chinese railroad workers who'd been cheated out of their pay and had nowhere else to go. Didn't matter where you came from. If you worked honest, you got paid honest. If you needed a place to sleep and 3 meals, you got that too. Folks said it couldn't work, said you can't mix races like that without trouble. But Silas and Nasalnish proved them wrong every single day for 4 decades. Silas never did remarry. Folks asked him about it, especially the widows in town who brought him pies and darned his socks. He'd smile polite and say, My heart belongs to Abigail, always will. But truth is, I think he poured all that love into Elwood and into that ranch, into proving that his wife's faith in him wasn't misplaced. He lived to see his boy grow up right. Elwood went to law school in San Francisco, first in the family to go to university, came back and became a territorial judge in 1895. The kind of judge who remembered what it felt like to watch his father nearly hang for doing the right thing, the kind who looked past a man's skin to see his character. Silas died in 1902, age 68. They found him at his forge, hammer still in his hand, shoeing a horse for a traveling Apache family. Doc said his heart just gave out. But Nyalnish said different, said, his heart didn't give out, it just finished what it came here to do. His funeral packed the church and spilled out into the street. Must have been 500 people there. I was just a boy, but I remember it clear. Apache in traditional dress standing shoulder to shoulder with ranchers in Sunday suits. Mexican vaqueros next to white bankers, all of them crying for a man who'd been nothing but a poor blacksmith. Nalnish spoke at the service. I can still hear her voice, strong and clear despite her tears. This man saved my life twice. Once from the snow, once from forgetting who I was. He showed me that family isn't blood. Family is who stands with you in the storm. And for 40 years he stood with me through every storm that came. Naalnish, herself never married. Told folks she was married to the land. And that was enough. But she adopted 12 Apache children over the years, orphans mostly, kids with nowhere to go. Gave them the home she never had. Taught them Apache ways alongside ranch ways. Taught them to be proud of their heritage while learning skills that would let them thrive in the white man's world. She lived to be 83, died in 1933, right in the middle of the Great Depression, when the ranch was feeding half the territory's hungry families for free. They say she died in her sleep, in the same house her grandmother built, wearing Abigail's patchwork shawl. That Confederate belt buckle Silas wore? It's in the Arizona Historical Museum now, right next to the Spanish land grant, and a photograph of Silas and Nalnish standing on the ranch porch, both of them smiling. The placard says, "Reminder that a man's past don't have to dictate his future. What matters is what he does with the present." The ranch itself? Still running. Nalnish's great-great-grandchildren own it now, still paying fair wages, still hiring anybody who needs work, regardless of who their people are. They've got a memorial there. A stone marker, where Silas's cabin used to stand before Patterson burned it, says, "Here stood a man who chose compassion over comfort. May we all do the same." And that patchwork shawl Abigail made, it's been passed down through 5 generations of the Cordero Brennan family. Still gets wrapped around newcomers to the ranch. New workers, adopted children, anybody who needs to know they're welcome. They call it Abigail's blessing, because that's what it is. A blessing that keeps giving, long after the hands that stitched it turn to dust. Now, I tell you all this for a reason, and it ain't just to fill your ears with a pretty story. See, it's easy to look away when someone needs help. Easy to say, not my problem, not my people, not my fight. Easy to pull your hat down and keep walking when you see someone hurting. But Silas Brennan taught us different. He taught us that dignity costs nothing to give, but means everything to those who receive it. That family is who you choose to stand with, not just who you're born to. That justice can be quiet. Quiet as a man opening his door in a blizzard. Quiet as a girl refusing to forget her name. Quiet as truth written down and hidden in a cave, waiting for its day. He taught us that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is the simplest thing. See another human being and treat them like one. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, that was then. World's different now. We don't have Apache wars or Spanish land grants or crooked territorial judges anymore. And you'd be right. The details change. But I'll tell you what don't change. Humanity. Human nature. The fact that there's always going to be folks who need help. Always going to be powerful people trying to take from those who got less. Always going to be a choice in front of you, look away, or stand up. Silas chose to stand up, not because he was a hero, not because he was brave, but because his wife asked him to raise his boy right, and he figured he couldn't teach mercy without showing it, couldn't teach justice without standing for it, couldn't teach love without giving it away when it cost him something. And here's the thing, he was just a poor blacksmith. Didn't have money, didn't have power, didn't have education or connections or anything the world says matters. All he had was a choice. Same choice you've got. Same choice we all got every single day. When your moment comes, and it will come, I promise you that, which choice will you make? Will you see that person who needs help and find reasons why it's not your problem? Or will you see them as Silas saw Naalnish as a human being drowning and you with a hand to pull them out, because that's all it takes. One hand, one choice, one person deciding that decency ain't negotiable. Silas Brennan was nobody special, just a widowed blacksmith trying to keep a promise to his dead wife. But he changed lives, changed a territory, changed history. And if he could do that with nothing but calloused hands and a stubborn heart, what could you do? If this story touched you, tell me where you're listening from in the comments below. I like knowing this old tale is still finding ears that need to hear it. And may your dignity carry you through the storms ahead. May you be someone's Silas when they need you. And may you find your own Na'alnish, someone worth standing for, even when it costs everything.